Hi, good afternoon. My name is Cheyenne Smeaton, and this is the Crisis Communication Kit for the Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Recreation. Why would this kit work for the Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Recreation, otherwise known as DCR? Well, this kit is clear, it's precise, it's effective, and we're always preparing for the worst. So in a crisis communication kit, it's important to be prepared. And it's important to know what is going to happen and what you need to do in the moment of a crisis. Some situational examples that I have is hurricanes, snow blizzards, and fires. Living in Massachusetts, we know all too well of all three of these things. And I mean, there's other natural disasters as well, like flooding, for an example, that can also be a cause for crisis. However, I'll just go over these examples now because these are very common examples that we all experience in Massachusetts. Hurricanes, as you can see, the bottom picture is from Hurricane Bob. And you can see how disastrous it can be. People's houses can become destroyed. Their cars can become destroyed. And it's important to have a crisis communication plan in effect in case you need to remove the citizens from the area. In the middle picture, you'll notice that this is from a snow blizzard. So this is in Westport, Massachusetts, actually, and the blizzard has caused so much destruction, and it's all frozen over, and the snow is everywhere, and it just leads for a dangerous situation. And in the top picture, you can see a wildfire. That wildfire is common in our forests, which is why it's important to also have a crisis communication plan for that. There's different departments and different various department heads and / leaders that do lead these departments and will become notified when these crises occur. So those three pictures were great examples, I thought, of some crises that can occur from natural disasters in Massachusetts. We have the precise plans, open action for each of these outcomes. Our overall message of our crisis communication plan is the precision, effectiveness, and safety of stakeholders and their audience. So, in this situation, our communication plan would be for the Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Recreation, as well as their audiences, which would be the employees and the citizens that just averagely go to the parks, go to lands that DCR owns, or honestly just citizens in general. Any citizen would benefit from this communication plan. Our end users is leaders of the departments within the DCR. There's many departments within DCR, and it's also the public's interest as well. So kind of like we talked about in the previous slide, we want to make sure that the public's interest is at hand, which is why this crisis communication plan does involve them. The leaders of the departments within the DCR, the employees within the DCR, and the departments that work for the DCR. So we did talk about this a little bit in the previous slide, so I'm going to move on to the next slide, which this communication plans and training that DCR follows based on the crisis. So like we talked about, there's many divisions, different departments within DCR. There's the engineering division, which this division provides engineering services throughout the Commonwealth in support of the DCR's many facilities, programs, and missions. So the main mission of DCR is to provide conservation to land and to protect the land. And the engineering division can come into play with this because they can come up with many different ways and tools that we can use to protect the land. The Bureau of Forest Fire Control and Forestry is also a part of DCR as well. This bureau services the state lands and the private lands that are owned, and anytime that there is a wildfire or a fire in general, this is the main point of contact, is the Bureau of Forest Fire Control and Forestry. The Office of General Counsel is also another department. which it also provides legal services and counsel to the entire agency. So say there is something that was to happen during a crisis, the audience would be protected by the Office of General Counsel. And when I'm talking about the audience, I do mean the employees and the employers. To be continued, there is also the Division of Mass Parks. The Division of Mass Parks protects the forests, the beaches, the mountains, ponds, riverbanks, trails, and parks. And its main focus is to protect the resources and hold the land through technical assistance. So this is extremely important during a crisis because say that a crisis could just be no more grant funding and planning of the programs because the government doesn't want to give any more money out. So this is where they would come into play, and they would come up with different grants and services and programs that DCR could undergo and get. The Bureau of Planning, Design, and Resource Protection is also another department, the Division of Water Supply, and the Office of Water Resources. The Office of Watershed Management also is the last department that is a part of DCR, which protects the drinking water supply for watersheds. This is many people. So the Office of Watershed Management, for an example, is approximately 3 million residents of Massachusetts, and that's just that one department. So the Department of Conservation and Recreation provides assistance and protection for many people within Massachusetts, which is why my crisis communication plan is important and needs to be enacted. What we want to accomplish is a safe environment, a go-to communication plan, a fail-safe, and the assurance of a precise communication plan that all employees can follow. The less confusion during a crisis, the better, which is why if we are able to accomplish all of these things, then this will be a great communication plan for Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Recreation to adopt. How will we accomplish our goals? Well, we're going to use various social media platforms. So we'll use Facebook, we'll use Twitter, we'll use Instagram, anything that can get our message and our goals across. Especially during a crisis, we want to make sure that everyone and anyone is accessible to the updates. We're also going to train the different department leaders, and by having the communication plan available to the employees of DCR. Now, by having the communication plan available to the employees of DCR, everybody is able to be on one page, which minimizes stress and confusion or panic during a crisis. And I think that is one of the biggest concerns and biggest reasons as to why a crisis can go extremely wrong is because there's confusion and panic. So if we eliminate those two things, then I believe that this crisis communication plan would be great for the company. Our messages is that our goal is clear. So for an example, the fire department received word from one of the watchmen of the fire towers that works for DCR that a wildfire had started. So when that happens, the lookout for the fire relayed the exact coordinates of where the fire started because that is a part of the crisis communication plan. With it in effect, they were able to execute their goals with precision and no confusion. They were also able to notify the public of the fire and put out a statement after it was diffused. So with our communication plan, the watchman knows where to send the exact coordinates, knows who to contact, which is the Bureau of the Fire Department, and we're able to effectively and without any confusion or crisis diffuse the situation. Our other message is that our goals is to be informative. So for an example, the department leaders were closely watching the news forecast and prepared for a snow blizzard. With our plan, they were able to notify the public through local news stations and social media platforms. They were also able to communicate to each other on what was needed in order to save the land from damage to the best of their capabilities. So with our kit, we were able to closely watch the news because that's a part of it. We are able to notify the audience of the disaster that's occurring, and we are able to communicate with each other about updates and possibilities that we can do in order to save the land from damage to the best of their capabilities. And all of that was able to be performed due to our crisis communication plan. This is some works cited, so a lot of these sites are from Massachusetts government because that does have a lot of information about the Department of Conservation and Recreation because it is a government-based corporation. So that is where I found a lot of my information. But this would be the crisis communication plan for the Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Recreation, and I believe that it would be an effective plan for their department. Thank you, and have a great day.